and welcome to the divided state of America. I'm Heather Gardner. And after recent events, we felt it was best to begin the show with a reminder that the greatest country in the history of the planet is prepared for anything.
We were underprepared, and we need to owe it to our children and grandchildren that this nation is never underprepared again.
Come on, we were actually prepared for that. We just underprepared.
Police underestimated the scope of the threat posed by the rally. The chief saying Thursday they knew people were coming, but didn't expect what came next.
You can't blame the Capitol Police here. They're obviously not following the right people on Parler.
Power grid operated by Texas, overseen by an agency called ERCOT, was not prepared to handle a storm of this magnitude.
Ooh, yeah, their power grid stood up to the cold like Rudy Giuliani's hair dye stood up to heat. So maybe we're not prepared for everything. Why does it seem like the greatest country in the world is always getting sucker punched by a stone sloth? All these calamities are predictable. What gives? Well, the same reason Melania pretended to give a fuck about the Christmas. It's all about the money, honey.
Hundreds of millions of dollars are being funneled away from the Centers for Disease Control's Prevention and Public Health Fund.
Critics say Texas has created an electric grid that puts an emphasis on cheap prices over reliable service.
The Trump administration took almost $10 million out of its emergency management budget and gave that money to Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
See, when it comes to preparing for disasters, we always go for the cheapest option. Crossing our fingers. From infrastructure to FEMA to pandemic preparedness, we just cut the budgets and hope for the best. And if something terrible does happen, we bust out the secret weapon, prayer.
Greg Abbott naming today Day of Prayer for victims of the Hurricane Harvey.
I mean, if prayer brings your soul comfort, fine. But unfortunately, Jesus hasn't proven to be a reliable substitute for a seawall or proper drainage infrastructure. Or I don't know, a mask mandate? And he certainly ain't writing checks to fix the damage either. No, that always falls on us and always after the fact. Because instead of spending the money up front to prepare for a disaster, we pay more on the back end, and not just in dollars.
FEMA earmarked $90 million for pre-disaster mitigation in the U.S. and wound up setting aside $1 billion just for Texas after Hurricane Harvey. Emergency planners say in the long run, funding disaster preparedness efforts tends to save both resources and lives.
Saving money and saving lives, plus jobs too. Updating and improving building codes alone could save $4 for every $1 we spend, and we'd add 87,000 new jobs in the process. Seems like a no-brainer, right? And yet we never make programs like this a priority. Why does America keep duct taping its shitty old car instead of buying a new one? We know it's just gonna keep leaving us stranded. Well, one of the biggest reasons, and I know this may surprise you, it's the Republican Party. Most of the world has accepted climate change as a problem, considering major disasters aren't rare anymore.
A record-shattering 22 events were classified as billion-dollar disasters in 2020, blowing past the old record of 16 and affecting nearly every part of the country.
Lovely. And yet the GOP is the only major political party on the planet that denies climate change. And in order to get them to accept it as an issue, we need them to accept something even more basic: reality.
The biggest problem is that we have a large part of our political system that just doesn't accept realities that it finds inconvenient, and that makes it impossible to deal with all of the other problems we have.
Nailed it! It's hard to do anything well when half the country and its elected leaders are living in a parallel universe. It's infuriating. Why are we putting up with this shit when we can do so much better? We used to lead the world in almost everything. Do people even realize the state of decline we're in? I need some answers. Is America #1 in anything anymore?